Are you confused about all of your employee benefit options? Join the crowd. A lot of people are. And on today's episode of Friends Talk Financial Planning, we're going to be talking about how we tell people to sort it out. Hi, I'm Bridget Sullivan-Mermel, and I've got a family financial planning practice in Chicago, Illinois. I'm joined today by Matthew Barnard, who also works in my office. Before we start, though, I want to remind people to subscribe to our channel. It helps us get the word out and helps us with Google to help us reach more people. So, Matthew, when you're looking at people's health insurance options, how do you approach the situation? What do you look at?
Yeah, so really there's a couple things that you really want to consider first before diving in too far. So in my mind, what I'm thinking is number one, do you have any major medical conditions that require kind of specific coverage or specific treatments, medications? If that is the case, I would want you to look through the different plans and see if one might be more favorable for you than the others.
So for instance, I think I want to go through fertility treatments this year or something that like that, or I've got a specific medical condition. So then I would look at the plans and just sort by that. Okay, this one covers fertility, or this one, let me just use that, or that's going to heavily favor that one.
Yeah, so my wife and I were actually just going through her open enrollment yesterday, and we were looking through coverage, and that's exactly some of the things that we saw that were different between the different policies.
Cool. So what else do you look at?
So another one that's it is becoming a little bit more rare, but some employers, they might have an insurance or a health plan that is just fantastic. You might call it a Cadillac plan, where they cover a lot. Maybe the employer pays for it on your behalf. And if that's the case, if you have something available to you like that, you might want to just take it.
Right, and just enjoy it. Like this is part of your benefits. I mean, I've seen this with people that work for the government or different government agencies. Sometimes people are involved in unions that negotiate on their behalf, and that's a big part of why they work there. They know that they're going to be fully covered and they're going to enjoy their great health insurance. So what other options? What are the other things? Okay, so we've figured out, like, we've looked at our health conditions, and then we've looked at, like, okay, do I just have a great plan? And let's say we've sorted things out in that regard, but we need to keep evaluating. What's the next thing we look at?
Yeah, so the next item or next kind of concept I would think about is, are you someone that typically has more recurring medical expenses through the year, kind of larger medical expenses? Maybe you have just something that does cost a bit more. Then I would want to look at the different policies you'd have and see what kind of limits your overall annual costs. And that's kind of, in their terms, it'd be called out of pocket expenses.
Okay. So and some people have low out of pocket, and then some people have high out of pocket. And so if I don't spend that much, usually on medical stuff, then a high out of pocket wouldn't be a big problem for me.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. What about how much emergency funds you have? How does that come into play?
Yeah. So as far as in your emergency fund, I would at minimum want you to have kind of a reserve ready to be used to cover any deductible that you have. So if you have a policy with a smaller deductible, maybe it's $250, well, that should be hopefully pretty easy for you to cover. But there are also policies that have much larger deductibles. Let's just say, $2,000. You just want to make sure that you are ready and able to cover that if something were to happen.
And the trade-off for that is, if you do have the emergency funds to cover that, then usually the monthly payment is a lot less. So ultimately, that's probably what we want people to strive for, but you've got to deal with reality first. You don't want breaking your arm to break the bank.
Exactly.
Okay, why don't you talk next about HSAs?
Yeah. So HSAs, which is short for health savings accounts. This is kind of the, like, once we get through all the other items that we just went through, this is kind of the next step. So I would want to look at the different plans that are eligible for health savings accounts. And health savings accounts are just an account that you're able to save in on the side. It's not exactly tied to the health policy, but it's there and available, and you're able to save in a tax advantage way for different medical expenses. And it's an account that can build up actually if you don't end up using it.
Yeah, and so we like health savings accounts, not in every situation, but often if you can swing it. So again, it's something that for a lot of people, we have them aspire to. But the other thing is kind of, we're trying to be sensitive around here about jargon. And health savings account, or HSA, is the actual jargon. That's not to be confused with different types of accounts like dependent care account and flexible spending account. There's many different types of accounts. So health savings account is kind of what we would favor often for health insurance. Okay, so now we've wrapped up health insurance. Let's talk about the other benefits on the menu. What's the next one you want to think about?
Yeah, so when you're going through something like open enrollment, or you change your job, or what have you, so you went through the health insurance, the other options, there's very possible long list of options you have there. One of the most important ones that hopefully you won't necessarily use is disability insurance.
So that comes in two flavors, long-term and short-term, sometimes. A lot
Yep.
of times they just have long-term.
Yeah, they very likely might just have one of the other.
And the short answer on disability through work, generally, I'm almost always say yes.
Yeah, it's just the numbers show that you're more likely to become disabled on the job than for you to pass away. So and disability insurance is one of those things. It's kind of like home insurance. You want to have it in case something happens, and it could be really helpful.
The other thing is that if you can get it through your employer, it's much less expensive. And so if you go out and buy a policy on your own, they're much more expensive, and then maybe or maybe not worth it. But if you've got an employer that offers it, there's typically inexpensive for what you're able to get.
Yeah, and one other little detail that is often overlooked is the employer oftentimes will give you this option of paying for this policy, this disability insurance, either after tax, meaning you're kind of paid your paycheck, you don't save necessarily tax money paying for this policy, or pre-tax. So you kind of pay for it and you save money on taxes by paying for it, which sounds good. But in this case, you actually want to pay for with after-tax dollars, because what that means is that if you were to become disabled, then you get this benefit, this monthly income actually tax-free rather than being taxed on it at that time.
Everybody likes tax-free. Okay.
Yes, we do.
Next up is dental insurance.
Okay.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so it's still it's kind of funny to me that dental isn't covered with health, because person's teeth generally are pretty good indicators how healthy they are. For me, dental is certainly important. Unfortunately, the policies aren't generally all that great, but I would still very much take a look at it and make sure that it works for you, make sure it works for kind of the different needs you may have, or maybe your family or spouse as well.
Yeah, I agree. And it can be a good deal, and it's definitely a good deal if you're getting orthodontics, or it's typically a good deal, but you can look at the plan and see, okay, do I go to my dentist regularly? And do I have anything that I know that's going to be coming up? And am I looking at orthodontics or something like that? I mean, I know personally, when I got dental insurance, I happened to know that I was going to have a lot of cavities filled, and that's another story. But and the dental insurance covered a lot of it, and it was great. So dental insurance is generally definitely worth considering, and probably a decent deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Vision. What's your take?
So vision, it varies from place to place. So vision, you can almost look at it more of a discount program of
Yeah.
sorts, where for eyeglasses or for contacts, they might have kind of special deals for you there. And generally they will cover at least the exam, which is important. But with vision insurance, I'm just a little bit more skeptical with that
Right.
one, but you should still take a look at it.
You can take a look at it, but if you don't get it, don't feel like you're probably doing anything wrong. It's kind of a toss up, I think, and often.
Yep.
Life insurance.
Yeah. So life insurance. So life insurance is through employers just very affordable generally. So, and they'll oftentimes offer something for free. So obviously you want to make sure that you are signed up for whatever that is. And then life insurance policies or plans through worker, again, generally lower costs as well. So if you have a spouse, if you have children that may rely on your income, it's a good idea to think about increasing the amount of benefit you have there. Oftentimes they'll offer a benefit. It's kind of X times your salary. So 1 times, 2 times, 3 times plus. And yeah, it's definitely important to be considering.
Yeah, and when we're working with clients, we usually do an analysis to see how much life insurance they should have. And often we recommend additional in addition to what they have at work if they have dependent kids. All right, so that's the big F. But through work is a good baseline of a good place to get it. So it's not, the biggest issue is that if you leave the job, then you have to go get some new life insurance. So, which isn't, that's not optimal, but I think it's a good part of the package, like an overall life insurance plan. What other options, what other things do we have as we're wrapping up?
Yeah, so we've really touched on the bigger ones that are more common. There are some less common items that come up, such as maybe the accidental death and dismemberment insurance or critical illness insurance, things like that. And with these types of policies, yeah, it's kind of hard to kind of sell them in the
Well,
video.
I mean, what happens, here's my take on them. The
Yeah.
insurance industry packages together things that people are really afraid of, but that aren't really statistically, it works for them to be insuring them. So not that many people died from them. So if you have, and it effectively acts as a bonus. If you die in an accident, you not only get the life insurance that you had, but also an extra bonus because you had an accident. But it's hard for us to recommend people paying for that coverage. If it was free, fine, we'll take it. But just regular life insurance should do the trick.
Yeah, exactly. The kind of the limitations on those policies are just rather large. So I'd rather bump up life insurance than buy more of this.
Covers you for pretty much whatever reason you die, except for instance, suicide, or if you die like if you know you have a medical condition and you buy life insurance right before you die, like that kind of thing. They'll exclude those. You have to be more careful then, but in general, they just, for whatever reason that you die, they cover you.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, on that note, I think it's time to wrap up. Again, I'm Bridget Sullivan-Mermel, and I've got a family financial planning practice, and this is Matthew Barnard, and we're members of ACP, or the Alliance of Comprehensive Planners. If you like the way we think and talk about these topics, you might want to check out ACP or acplanners.org. And you can find planners throughout the country that are in this not-for-profit group of people that kind of think the same way. And look for one of those if you're looking for more advice.
Yeah, and if you found this information helpful, please like and subscribe. Thanks so much for joining us.